This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing.
And not a lot, like I said. Welcome to another episode of Tough Talk Tuesday. As always, I'm your host, Lucas Bickers. Alongside me is going to be Rob, Sakura, and James, most of the crew. And I think Javi's going to be coming on too. How's it going, guys?
We're good.
Blurry for some.
All good.
All right, let's jump right into the thick of it. Gary Russell Jr. lost to I'm going to butcher the name again. Mark Magsayo?
Yes, perfect.
Magsayo, okay.
Right.
But he lost. A lot of people saw it more of like a draw. I wanted to get your guys' take on it, one. And two, like I said, it seemed like an upset to me. I would have had Mark winning myself. But let's go to Sakura first. Or not. We could go somewhere else.
I'm just saying, did anybody really win? I didn't see anybody win in that fight. I mean, it didn't look like either guy did enough for me, but I know like it could be a draw or it could be, people say, oh, it could go either way. For me, I wasn't impressed with Magsayo and I wasn't impressed with Russell, other than to say that, that defense was on point for him to have been dealing with just one hand or one shoulder, shall we say, since that's where the injury was. I don't know why he went through with that fight unless it was a money situation. Because, if you got an injury and it's that bad, I just don't see why you would go through with it. Especially when your fans only get to see you once once a year.
Gary Russell Jr. comes out like Pennywise. He has a fight every 27 years or so to surprise you, you know. Hey, I'm back.
Yeah, that wasn't supposed to be funny, but it ended up like, as I was saying it, I'm like, damn, that was pretty funny. Like,
Yeah.
But I mean, I just feel like, you know, I don't see Magsayo holding on to that title too long. I don't know if Gary Russell Jr. has a rematch clause or what was in the contract. I'm thinking that they probably are not going to have a rematch. I feel like, you know, they might try to make a different fight, right, James?
No, it's interesting. Magsayo here came in, you know, and you know, straight in to Russell and outboxed him and outfought him. And yeah, I can't say that Russell was 100%, but that's boxing for you. Magsayo took what he had to take. He also took some good blows, but in the end, it was the pressure that got him. And you know, I mean, I'm happy for Magsayo. As far as a rematch, though, that's a tough one.
I mean, they might be finally ready to put those titles together. You know, it's been unification season, you know, so like I'm figuring that they're going to try to make the fights that, you know, unify titles.
Sure. But as far as rematch, there is that possibility. As far as I can tell, I would think that Magsayo's open to that. It's not a bad payday for him.
Let me just run down the numbers for you guys, because this is not more about rematches and everything like that. Let's just go through the numbers real quick on why this bout was embarrassing in the first place, okay? Because Gary Russell Jr. actually was the longest title holder in boxing. He was the current longest active title holder in boxing, with a run of 6 years, 6 years and 10 months, right? But guess what? He only fought 5 times during the active streak.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, he probably should have been stripped. I mean, 5 times. It's ridiculous. And against what? Like TBAs most of the time. It wasn't, you know, tough like opposition.
Magsayo. Against guys just like Magsayo, okay? And this is supposed to be one of boxing's quote-unquote elite level fighters. And I'm talking about Gary Russell Jr., because the only really loss that he had was to Lomachenko, which people wanted to argue that he could get back in the ring with Lomachenko and pose a threat. No, Gary Russell is a product of his own environment, okay? He has too many layoffs. Then he wants to come into this fight claiming an injury, but he has to take it. Why? Because he fought 5 times in 6 years.
I mean, look, I mean, you already fought 5 times in 6 years, so it's not going to hurt to just not fight, right? Right? Like, push it off. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, how long would it take to rehab? Take that, you know, why take the loss? Because now your credibility goes down even more. You're less likely to sell tickets. And
I'm thinking that maybe they told him, like, look, you've been out for over a year and a half now, and if you don't do this fight, we're going to take this title from you. It's going to be stripped.
So you think either the promotion or you think, you know, the alphabet, you know, ordered him, like, and saying, hey, you better fight soon.
Well, he only did mandatory.
I think we would have heard
anyway.
If it was from, you know, one of the organizations. I think we would have heard, like, "Hey, you need to fight." Go ahead, James.
He only did mandatories anyway, so it's going to be a mandatory every time that he fights. And just to let you know, Rob, just so you know, it really was 5 fights in 4 years. The other 2 years he held the title. No fight, you know. So
but, you know, we're talking WBC here, And the name that comes up to mind is Donna Stevenson. It's kind of the same scenario there. And the WBC never stripped him. So it's pretty consistent here. They pick and choose the fights that they want to see for, their reasons. They have their interests in this deal. And there's no stripping anybody of anything. It's just not going to happen.
I don't think they had to strip him because he was fighting his mandatories. The problem is that people would rather have seen him fight. 3 years ago we wanted to see Leo Santa Cruz and him get down. We didn't get that. Now we're talking about a whole new crop of talent in that division. Fulton, right? We got Figueroa. All these people are in that weight zone. Like, they don't have to wait for him to decide to fight only mandatories. They can move on. Now, he did state that he felt that it was politics that was involved with him fighting once a year. I don't know how true that is. However,
there ain't no politics involved. You can fight more. You can fight somebody. Who the hell is gonna stop you from a fight? That doesn't make any damn sense.
Even if it's a tune-up, you know what I mean. Even if it's a fight no one wants to see,
we gotta see you fight.
Pull a Canelo, pull somebody even smaller than you, whatever. But you got to do something. Jump a weight class, do something. But I agree with Rob here. There's politicking, and then there's just you don't want to fight.
Now, here's the other scenario too, guys. So if you feel like that, then it's a case of, how much power do you believe a contract with your promotional company means? Do they really have a say? Now, we have had conversations in the past about whether the boxer works for the promoter or does the promoter work for the boxer. So I guess it depends on the power of how many followers you got now and how much money you bring in as to whether you really have a voice in what your promotional company and your management teams decide to do with you. It's also it's on the networks as well, whether they want to even bid on a fight that you carry.
I think you know what it is Russell is very cozy with him. He's very cozy with the WBC and his promoter. There's no pressure there for fight.
Is he an Al Heyman fighter?
Yeah.
Yes, he is
right.
Yes,
he's an Al Heyman fighter. Al Heyman likes to give you what you want. He likes to put you in a position to get the type of money and fights that you want. Gary Russell Jr. for years has been saying he deserves Leo Santa Cruz. Never did take that fight. Never got it done. He's saying he deserves, the bigger names, the bigger shots. Done did media ploys to try to get them in the ring with him. And he just couldn't get it done. So I think it's a combination of that. I think the issue is that he felt he should be in bigger draw type fights, and he refused to take fights that weren't necessary to him, other than taking a mandatory fight to keep his title. That's really all he had next to his name, was longest active title holder. That's it.
Yeah,
the
problem it's like Sakura
is
said. The name of the game is. Go ahead. The name of the game is unification here. I'm hoping that he would fight Navarrete for, I believe, WBO next. I'm talking Magsayo. That's the nature of the business now. It's unification. I never saw Gary Russell do that. No, it was always, it was like challengers coming in. Okay.
Well,
but the competition is in unification.
Talent. Don't get me wrong. I feel that he's a huge talent. And damn, it just makes you so frustrated. But at the same time, we're sitting up here talking about, I lost a little faith in him when he had the chance to fight Lomachenko, in a repeat type fight before he moved up. And I heard out of his own mouth, he was like, well, that's really a fight I see, further down in my career now, like a little later on in my career. I don't really see that now. Like, why? You said you was just sick that night and that had a big impact on the reason why Lomo won. That's what he claimed. And yet still you didn't want to go right back in there and try to, like, you know, best that defeat.
And I
didn't understand that. So ever since then, I got my one eyebrow was up. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the?
We've interviewed him, and he told us that he's going to have to see Lomachenko back in the ring on more than one occasion. Like, that's what he told us on the show. So now you're going to just be like, I see that. No. See, I'm sorry, but you can call it whatever you want. Gary Russell's the problem here. You can say you won all these bigger fights, and that's fine. I think, you know, some guys do deserve it. Gary Russell might have been one of the talents, but at the same point, you got to cause those fights to happen. If you get a big knockout, guess what? Your following gets bigger. If you have a belt and nobody wants to fight you, if you can't land that, then there's a big problem there. And you're not being avoided. That is not the situation. So it's either promotional or you just plain don't want to fight. And I'm starting to think it's the latter.
Apparently, he's saying like, oh, I like to fight. Just like I want to take the big money fights, as Rob was saying. I want the big money fights, but if you don't want to give me that, then I'm not gonna fight.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's gonna get a big money fight because, like I said, he has a name, but that following isn't there. You have to cause that following to happen, and how do you do that is by showing up. You know what I mean? You just don't become a big name or get a big name by doing nothing. You fought 5 times in the last 6 years with a belt. I mean, if that can't draw him out, then maybe you need to do something. And, you know, Gary Russell's not willing to do it.
It's an awful lot of people that know the Russell's name. I don't think it's household like Canelo or Mayweather or Pat, you know, by any means. But people know that name in boxing. So I'm just like, you know, you really not getting your fans because of exactly what Lucas is saying. Yeah. You're not fighting enough and you're losing or ciphering out fans as you go with inactivity. Yeah. So even though his main goal was to fight the best for the most money, we never got to that point as of yet. I don't want to count him out like he's finna ride off in the sunset.
It's not going to change, though. I mean, this has been going on. We've been calling him Mr. TBA because he be fighting these guys on last-minute notices, and then you expect everybody to clamor about it? Like, nobody gives a shit, dude. Like, get a halfway decent name, beat the shit out of them, you know, make it exciting, and you'll get a big fight. It's not rocket science. It's your promotion and you are both to blame in this situation. And I don't think it's going to get any better. I will gladly reach back out to Gary Russell, but I'm not expecting him to come back on the show, especially if he listens to tonight.
Yeah,
he's had some good.
Go ahead and bury this podcast.
Well, he's had some good competition over the years. I mean, Jojo Diaz and Lomachenko and so forth. He's had some pretty good fights.
He has, but they're few. Yeah, and far between. Yeah,
exactly. His frequency is way too low, man. He's just kind of flatlining it here.
Yeah,
not good. Not good for boxing.
And
not good for him.
Yeah, everybody sees the problem, except him apparently. And I hate it because I love seeing him fight. You know, I mean, he's an exciting fighter, very talented, very skilled, one of the fastest hands in the game, but it's just not getting put to use. With that being said, I don't know if it is promotional or if it's him, but I think it's a little bit of both. Let's kind of transition into another promotional deal going wrong. Let's talk about Crawford's lawsuit against TopRank. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I didn't read a lot about this. All I've seen is a headline basically saying racism. How do we know how it's been said? And what is being claimed as racism, or is he just being like, you know, this is racist, you didn't give me my money? I'm kind of confused.
There was a lot of issues there. The complaint is pretty extensive. But in the end, I don't see that TopRank did something for, let's say, Shakur Stevenson or any other fighter that they didn't do for Russell. Sorry, for Crawford. They didn't. I mean, TopRank is not the most active in promoting fighters. They're They promote fights. They promote cards. They do it well. But
Now,
you don't see them pushing their fighters like PBC does or De La Hoya does with Gold Boy or DAZN. Forget it. They're on top.
Yeah,
That's their
and
game.
Racism
They own
as,
that game.
And racism as to what? Do they even have a white fighter? I mean, that's what I'm confused about. Like, what are we talking about?
I can tell you, in my opinion, the only guy that Top Rank is really promoting and pushing is a guy named Nico Ali Walsh. And by the way, he's somebody's grandson.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it just it doesn't stop. And that's the one guy that they're really pushing. Everyone else, to me, is pretty evenly distributed. I just don't see any.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
Lomachenko gets pushed a lot. Now, here's what it alleges.
I agree with you there.
The lawsuit alleges that Bob and 90-year-old Arum continues, this is quotes, continues to make racist and bigoted statements and damaging. Pretty much, he makes racist and bigoted statements to damage the reputation of black boxers. It goes further on to claim that his history with athletes of color, especially black fighters, and his bias favoring white and Latino fighters is well documented and known throughout the boxing world. And then it also says Arum makes no secret of his deep-seated bias against black fighters.
I mean, it's saying that, but I haven't seen or witnessed or heard of any racist remarks. If anything, I've actually heard the opposite.
You haven't. You just didn't know what that
was.
For
Bob Arum. Bob Arum's talked bad about MMA, saying that there's nothing but a whole bunch of white racists. So maybe it's something that I have not heard or it's surpassed. Is there examples? Because I don't know.
What he's talking about he's talking about the fact that he goes out and that Bob Arum, goes out and says, Bud Crawford ain't making me no money. Bud Crawford is sinking my ship, so to speak. He's his own worst enemy. And he's done that with Crawford. He also did that with a known Cuban fighter, Enrique Diaz, where he went out and spoke against his own promoted fighter at what should have been the height of his career, saying that he doesn't make me any money.
Break it down. Doesn't make any money, though. That's not necessarily racist. That's just true. But I'm trying to. The way it was sounding like it was completely racist. So are we saying that he's just saying this about his fighters coming up that just happen to be black?
Well, like he said, you don't get that with Lomachenko. You don't get that with other.
Lomachenko makes money.
And
Lomachenko's got a huge following. Lomachenko's willing to fight on ESPN. Bud Crawford wants pay-per-view. Bud Crawford wants these big names. That's different. I mean, each scenario is a little different.
And then you also kind of threw me, Rob.
I'm giving you examples of the minority fighters that he's thrown under the bus. Now, the difference there is that he's the promoter. Why the hell is he throwing any of his fighters under the bus anyways? That's one of the problems. The second issue is you don't see him doing that with other Latino and white fighters. That's what they said. Now, if you go back in his history, Mayweather had the same issue. Mayweather also, I don't know if he sued him, but he also got out under Bob Arum due to the same circumstances, claiming racism.
I don't know. It was more about money, I thought, than anything.
Well, now, the money. Hold on, James. Hold on. I want to get to the money aspect of it. There is a legit money issue in the claim, where he claims that when he signed to fight Calvula Saskis in 2019, that he was promised an agreement of a $900,000 payment if Top Rank in good faith offered Crawford the bout with Spence. So he's saying back in 2019 he signed on to fight this guy in good faith, saying that Bob Arum would promise to get him Spence. and he never did.
Which is the machine.
Sherman
Okay.
says Bob has always had problems with black fighters.
Yeah, guys. I just had an
I mean,
incident.
are we talking all black fighters? I mean, I don't remember any problems with Tim Bradley. And Bud, I mean, Bud just recently re-signed.
Lucas.
So what are we talking about? I'm confused.
Lucas, calm down a minute, babe. I need you to, if you want to understand, let me break it down for
All right,
you,
help me
okay?
out. Help me out here.
Okay, so I'll use myself as an example. I just had an incident with my friends on Emilio's birthday last weekend. The thing is that nobody called us the N-word. Nobody said, you know, the old standards of what racism is. It's more about devaluing someone. It's about, I'm not going to allow you to be on the same playing field in terms of value as I really think about this person over here or that person over there that isn't of that same complexion. You following me? It's about, it's more than just, oh, the N-word, or oh, you know, you're not shit because you're darker skinned. It's none of that now. None of that. All that's hidden down underneath in the person's mind that's doing it, sometimes even subconsciously. But the point is, it's when you devalue someone based on your own biases. Now, in our situation, this individual who was a Caucasian, he actually didn't listen to 3 of us African Americans about another friend. 3 of us telling them the exact same thing over and over again. Not only that, that's step 1. You devalued what we were saying to you, our word, because of the complexion we were. Then you turned secondly and you dialed the cops, which personally, that what my friend was accused of was not even a criminal offense, but you did it without any thought, any repercussions, and compared to somebody else of a different complexion, you would not have done that, which speaks to what Rob was saying, where you doing things for certain people, but you're not doing it for others, or you doing something to me that you don't do to others. And then you look at who we were, right? They didn't have no idea I had 100, and we got like over 100,000 followers and hit 1 million people a month. They didn't know that. But guess who knows that somebody is a number 1 and number 2 pound for pounder in their staple. So why are you talking down about them and devaluing them? This is like the underlying things that I see. And I was thinking this before that incident happened to me, but I just think that it's a great, you know, I don't like to share certain things when, you know, because it's seen as negative, or, oh, you always say racism. No, this is how it works. It's no longer about a name calling or treating somebody openly different, but it is a devaluation of somebody who is of greater value than most of the boxers on your staple. So that's how I break it down.
No, I hear what you're saying. Go ahead, James. Sorry.
The one thing is that, Robbie, you were mentioning that he had preferential treatment for others, including Latinos, but I don't see it because the 2 names that come to mind are moneymakers. One is Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez. The other is Mikey Garcia. Things didn't work out with Top Rank, and there was no preferential treatment there.
No, but there was no begrudging statements either.
No, exactly. But yeah, that's the next point, is that Top Rank didn't do well with Crawford, and I don't know if it's negligence, which is actionable for a suit, negligence always is when you're under contract. But I think in their defense, Terrence didn't really fulfill his part of the agreement, I would say, in that he didn't promote his brand as well. And it's difficult to say that because I really don't follow Terrence Crawford or Top Rank in that regard. I like to see them fight, not talk. And I just don't see how Arum could fail to promote one of the most talented fighters we've ever seen.
But yet he did. But the thing is more than that. It's also some promotional companies are not as good at promoting certain type of boxers, and that's just how it is. And it's nothing. And when it's like that, it's nothing to do with race. It has nothing.
That's what's puzzling to me here is that
market. It's about 10 boxers that's had in the past that Arum has that issue.
And you guys are right. I'm definitely not saying that it can't be like an underlying thing and a more hidden type racism. It definitely could be. The problem is like he's saying also that there is issues with Crawford as well as other fighters in the past. And if he makes these statements, are they automatically going to be racist statements, or is it actually factual things that came up? Now, with obviously Bob's background already, though, you have to throw that into question. The fact that he's just an old white man that's rich, pretty much racist off the top already.
Yeah, that's racist too, though. Like,
old white men, man, they are racist. Anybody that's in a white family and you have an old white guy, no, you already know. Like, you don't want to talk to your great grandpa; he's gonna be racist.
And Arum said that though, and that's what it alludes to. Also, Arum said when they did an interview and they asked him about after 2019, they asked him about the Spence fight. He said, "quote Al Heyman's gonna say, Spence, listen to me. Don't listen to the white guys." Okay. That's another quote that's in the suit that Bob Arum made.
Well, how's that racist against Bob either, though?
Bob made it.
Well, he's distinguishing it as a black and white thing when nobody had said anything about it being a black and white issue.
I mean, I don't know Al Heyman. Maybe that's how Al Heyman talks. I don't know.
Right.
No, not Al Heyman. Al Heyman didn't say that. They're saying
no,
Bob
but he's
Arum
saying that's what Al Heyman would have said.
Say, yes, as in you're bringing up race when that's not necessary.
Right. I mean, that's
hearsay.
Yeah.
Hearsay. That gets tossed out.
That's
I'm wondering,
true too. You never know exactly.
I'm wondering if there's a judge who's going to hear this case.
I don't know. I'm pretty
sure there's going to be.
But
There is.
I doubt it.
And he's being represented by Friedman, who also represented Mikey Garcia in his suit against Top Rank. So that's who's representing him there. But also, James, to your point with the issues with Crawford, he didn't do anything wrong here. Actually, in all actuality, he never said one bad thing about Bob Arum until the deal was over.
That's true.
So he honored his full contract. Never ever degraded the person until the deal was over.
And I'm hearing he's just not that type of person to even, bring up something like that anyway. Like, he's non-confrontational in a way. But
not when it comes to that thing.
I feel like, well, let's go ahead and let Javi go ahead, cause.
No, I was just gonna say, like the whole situation, with everything going on nowadays, people become a little more, I wouldn't say sensitive, but a little more receptive to a few things. And you got to remember, at the end of the day, Al Heyman, Bob Arum is their businessmen, and they're gonna call things flat out, and they're gonna say things maybe not in the nicest way, but just flat out how it is. If you're not making money, you're not producing money, he's gonna call it. Now, I mean, Bob Arum, most of his fighters are Hispanic and black. So it's like, it kind of contradicts the fact that he's being racist, per se. And also the fact that, let's not forget that Bob Arum was the one that made Muhammad Ali, he promoted Muhammad Ali. He has a history with black fighters back then. back then in the 60s and the 50s. So let's not forget about that. Just because man, I mean,
like who else was he going to promote back then in a heavyweight division? Like,
well, he took a chance.
Jerry Corey.
He took a chance with him. Remember, Ali wasn't
Corey,
the best.
Come on,
What's
like,
the risk? When Ali
all I
was
know
really
is, I mean, masters had a lot of slaves running around, but I'm pretty sure they were racist. Just because you got a lot of people in your stable or your company or underneath you does not mean that you are not racist.
Well, I mean, I guess we see things different. I feel like that topic gets thrown so quick, and people are so quick to judge and become emotional for it. That is like, how are we expecting to have acceptance when everything is like, oh, my side or your side, or you said something that offended me, or I said something that offended you. Everybody's looking to be offended for whatever reason.
Yeah, no.
I feel like this is, it's business at the end of the day.
Yeah, Javi, I understand where you're coming from. That was my original line of thinking, but yeah, like you said, Sakura, I mean, just because you're making money off these people don't mean that you like them. You know what I mean?
Right.
He could definitely be still racist. So.
And I'm not saying he don't like some of them. I mean, I'm not saying he don't like some of his ethnic or minority boxers. Who's to say? Everybody got their favorites too.
Right. My only question would be to Terrence Crawford is, why did you re-sign 2 years ago? If it was a big problem, why re-sign? I can see his points.
I just told you why. Because he was promised if he took the fight, then he would get him the Spence fight. That was 2019, right, Rob?
Right.
Right, but if there's other issues that you've been claiming that he already seems racist still, whether you're promised the world or not, you do not re-sign with this person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would think you wouldn't either, Sakura, right? Like, I'm not. If this dude's treating me bad.
Everybody know I'm not the judge right now, honey, because I walk off a job and ain't got a dime to pay a bill tomorrow.
Me too.
That's how high my damn level of tolerance is. It's like, screw you. I don't have to have you. And I'll find the money some other kind of way, because I'm not going to sit here on nobody's job, and I'm not going to let anybody just talk to me any old kind of way. Them days is over. And I stand up for my principles. Everybody is not the same. And also, we don't know what was being offered to him on the other side of the table. It could have been as simple as, these people want me to do it for cheaper. These people aren't offering me as much as Bob is for just 2 years. You know, so sometimes it's more like, I'm not going to shoot myself in the foot to spite you either, on the other hand. Yeah. I just feel like the main thing is, we probably won't ever see this case, because it's probably going to be settled out of court. Nobody wants their dirty laundry, in and out. But they got a serious problem when it comes to that pay-per-view episode for the Sean Porter versus Bud Crawford fight. The way that they had it structured, for the first time, that you had to sign up for the app for ESPN, then also pay for the pay-per-view with no option for cable. He's going to have a very factual area to be able to pinpoint. They never did it to this one. They never did it to that one, but they sure did it to me on my last fight. And they knew that was my last fight. And I believe it was done. Well, he could say that it was done to devalue how much other promoters would see him as far as value in pay-per-view numbers. Because it significantly reduced the amount of people watching that pay-per-view.
I think Terrence Crawford should have went the way of negligence, like James is talking about, because I mean, there's books of that. I mean, you just watch our show and we're like, what the hell is Bob doing, with Terrence Crawford? We all knew, dude, you're mishandling him, and I think we can all agree upon that. So, James, what were you getting ready to say?
The one thing is that I believe this was filed in Nebraska or Las Vegas. Nebraska.
Oh, I thought it was Vegas. I thought it was filed in Vegas.
State of Nevada.
Yeah, I think it was.
If this is in Nevada, it'll take forever to come to a conclusion.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And if Top Rank wants to countersue for whatever reason, this case is dead. This case is not going anywhere.
Sherman Henson says it's not that Bob is truly racist, it's that Bob feels that it is hard to promote black fighters, and it is easier to promote Hispanic fighters.
I think it's by choice.
Because Hispanics will come out and support their Hispanic fighters more so than blacks will.
I think it's by choice.
That's not a promoter problem.
They choose to do it this way. Why?
Right.
Maybe because they are African American. I don't know, but they certainly choose to do it this way.
But the man said that if he supports Hispanic fighters, but I mean, to be honest, Mexican style, right? Most of the time, Hispanic fighters, they have this style which is super fan friendly. Now, yeah, Hispanics go and support Hispanics, right? Now, he says that maybe these numbers are low because African Americans are not supporting Bob Crawford, but then that's not really Bob's Aaron's fault either. Maybe he's not pushing much for him to promote him, but if your own people are not coming to see you and paying all this stuff, then that's not really on the promoter. That's either you not connecting with your people, or you're not marketing yourself in a way where it's actually like it's like a curse, because he's a talented fighter. He's like one in a generation, and there's so much to give. There's so much potential, marketing wise, promotional wise, with Crawford. But at the same time, Crawford is not the most entertaining when out of the ring. And then in the ring, it takes like a hardcore boxing to really appreciate him, because to the naked eye, and I mean the casual fan, the Jake Paul fan, the YouTubers fan, and all of these new kids that start to watch boxing, they're not gonna be able to appreciate his style. So therefore, they don't connect. He doesn't have that charisma like other fighters do. Look at Broner. The amount of L's back to back, he can still sell some numbers, and he can still fill up those seats.
Let's
kill. He talks a lot of shit.
Rapid fire to every one of y'all. If Terrence Crawford is on PBC, does he make a lot of money? Yes or no?
Yeah, Heyman like to pay their fighters.
Yeah,
hell
yeah, he does.
For sure.
He gets the Mayweather treatment.
I don't know about that far.
I don't think he gets the
You
Mayweather
back it
treatment.
up now. Hold on. You talking
Yeah.
Mayweather treatment?
What's
What he's saying is he would get the benefit of the marketing that the promotional company knows how to do.
Maybe, but I'm gonna tell you guys something.
TopRank does not know how to do that type of marketing. And
I think TopRank been in the business for so long, so they probably know. But I'll tell you guys something.
No, they don't know, because they would have more successful black people when they would make more money off the black African American fighters that they do have, and they don't.
But I'm gonna tell you something.
I think overall TopRank's just bad at promoting.
They don't have the marketing. They don't have the marketing. I'll give you an example. You got Xander Zayas. Xander Zayas. We all know Xander Zayas. He's an amazing boxer.
He's making
coming
noise.
up the ranks. He had to go through the Telemundo, right, Javi, right in your backyard right now of Kissimmee. He had to come up the ranks, and when he should have got on the main pay-per-view, instead of him being on the main pay-per-views, guess where he was at? He was on the ESPN block. And instead, they had Nico, right, James? The Nico that you were bringing up before that is getting heavily marketed. He's on social media right now, and they got him on promote mode right now. So that you can see him in your feed all the time. So if you can take a fighter that has a lot of skill like Xander Zayas, and you relegated him to coming up the ranks so hard, even though he gonna be a superstar, with the Puerto Rican fans and also with people like me that love him, and the other ladies too. Then if you treat him to that level, then why are we surprised that he would treat Bud Crawford in the way that he was treated as far as marketing?
And then why Nico gets the benefit of the doubt though? Why? So then Nico's a lucky one because he's the grandson of Muhammad Ali?
No, Javi, it's not about Nico being the lucky one. It's about him looking the right way. It's about him having the last name does matter, but it's Walsh Ali, and he looks nothing like his granddad, number 2. And it's not like he is going up the rank. He is going up the ranks right now. Like he's going through those tough couple of, the fights that you build a fighter on in the first 1 to 10 fights. There's no way you can tell me that Xander Zayas should have not been on that main event card that was the pay-per-view part of that particular pay-per-view. I believe that was the Bud and the Bud and
Porter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they also mentioned that he's
it's little stuff like that add up to like you picking and choosing, you treating people different. And if it's based on skill levels, then that's a direct indicator right there, because he had Xander Zayas has way more skill level than a Ali Walsh, and I like Walsh. Don't get me wrong, but I believe Xander Zayas has earned that place on that card, and he didn't get it.
Yeah. All right. We got to move on though. We've been on this a little too long, so I know it gets heated when you talk about race and stuff. So.
Well, yeah.
I just want to say that
ahead,
if Terrence Crawford finds a judge to hear this case and it goes to court, I don't think he's got a lot to stand on, despite of everything we just said.
Nah, but like you
it's
said,
very,
it's
very
not
difficult
going.
because
it's not
here's the deal. Grandpa Bob Arum is going to present a lot of information and a lot of facts and, most importantly, a lot of figures. And when he presents the figures, I think that's where that case is going to sink. Mm-hmm. He just didn't sell the tickets. He just didn't sell the pay-per-views for whatever reason.
Rudy,
it's a bad situation because this is one of the best fighters we've ever seen.
But
so shame on both of them.
The case is not about whether he sold pay-per-view or not. It's about the fact that Bob Arum broke his promise and specifically says in year 2 of the second contract extension, he, number 1, failed to get him a second fight that year, and 2, failed to get him a Spence fight, which was both promised to him. Yeah. And if that was the case, then he's gonna lose that.
I hope he can prove it.
We all know he failed to do that.
I hope he can prove it.
It's that the problem with proving that is it takes 2 people to make that fight happen. So that's gonna be rough. But Rudy Gutierrez, boxing OG, one of the original guys. We miss you, Rudy. Says, unfortunately, boxing is a racist sport, consciously or unconsciously. 9 times out of 10, you'll root for the fighter that looks like you. Joke's on you, though, Rudy, because there ain't no fighter that looks like me.
Right. It ain't gonna happen, right? I don't know how many times I done had this. Loma this and Loma that.
It's like it's back in the days. Though. Back in the days, you will identify with your race, kind of like jail. Back in the days, boxing was like that. African Americans would support the black fighters. The white people will support the white fighters. The Hispanics, and it was like that. Even now, boxing is a really national sport. And when it's not national, it becomes a state sport where it's like somebody's repping Philly, somebody's repping New York, somebody's repping Florida, and it's a very territorial, men-like, business. So it always gonna have that, that pride behind it.
Yeah, that's totally different than somebody having bias for you because of your color. That's considered like having national pride and having, pride for your ethnicity, rooting for your Mexican or your Puerto Rican rivalries that they have. Yeah. That's totally different than not liking somebody or treating them different because of their skin color. That's all I gotta say.
Rudy said Caleb Plant. I only rooted for Caleb Plant in one fight because I wanted him to beat Canelo.
You wanted Caleb Plant?
And then he said Canelo is white too. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. Playing. Oh man. So, guys, Chocolatito got a new opponent. Unfortunately, we don't get to see a trilogy. What are your guys' takes on the replacement of Julio Cesar Martinez?
It's a good bout. But
I still like it. Yeah,
you said we're not going to see the trilogy.
Well, not yet.
There's a good
delay.
Okay,
delay.
Yeah,
sorry.
but we wanted to see it in March. Damn it.
Yeah, no, it may be in the summer. It may be in the summer, and it may be Chocolatito's farewell.
Yeah, it's more of a blockbuster fight.
He's 34, 35 years now. That's kind of a lot for a fly or a super fly. They're gonna go at it.
Yeah, they take a lot of betterment down in that weight zone. And for me, I like the idea of him fighting Martinez, but I can't say I'm not disappointed that we're not gonna see this 3 yet. And I hope that Estrada is feeling well soon.
Well, tactically, I think it's an uphill battle for Martinez, and simply because he is like his countryman, the guy who just fought Gervonta, Isaac Cruz, one of those straightforward guys. He looks good when there's a guy his style coming at him. That's all fine. He's just one of those guys, man. He doesn't stop punching though. So and you're gonna see Gonzalez, Chocolatito Gonzalez expertise here.
But doesn't he have
lateral movement,
he has power, right? Because I remember him fighting somebody.
Martinez? McWilliams Arroyo, maybe. In his last fight. That was a no contest due to a headbutt or something. It was controversial.
Yeah.
Martinez is 18-1 with 14 KOs. He's got power.
There's no question about it.
Yeah,
he can thump. Martinez can thump.
Let's not pretend that Martinez might be able to upset this whole thing.
No. Here's the thing: is you got a classic here. It's the puncher against the really, really solid boxer. And in my opinion, boxers, is just trump the punchers.
Rudy's pissed. He said, "I just bought my tickets on Saturday. Well, at least I'll be watching my boy Diego Pacheco live."
No.
Diego Pacheco's awesome.
He is.
Good
point. We don't have the trilogy, but let me tell you what.
We still got to get him on the show, buddy. Go ahead, bro.
And Diego.
We don't have the trilogy, but let me tell you something about these lightweight fighters in particular. These guys right here, Chocolatito and them. Look, they don't back down. Okay, the fight was nixed due to COVID. So what did Chocolatito say? Give me somebody else. Okay, so he's taking another fight, and not just that, he's taking a big fight for him because Martinez is actually got some notoriety now because he's in the camp with Reynoso.
Right.
So that is a huge fight for Chocolatito.
That's a good point.
I don't have a favorite because he was on the comeback swing. He's been on the comeback trail. So we still want to see him fight younger fighters and see what he can do.
You're talking about
Chocolatito, yep.
Okay, yeah, that's true. I think the one advantage that Martinez has here is that he's not fighting at 12. He's fighting at 15. So he gets another 3 pounds to play with there. Less stress on his body, be able to absorb a little bit more because there's a lot coming at him. This is going to be a war. There's no question about it. I just think that it plays well for Chocolatito, given his style and given his experience and given his talent.
Well, I have a question, James. I just want to know, you think this will have change up Gonzalez's training camp a little? Because it's a different opponent, or does he really still get to try to use the same strategy that he had against Estrada?
Well, I think Estrada is a far better boxer than Martinez is. Martinez is come forward slugger. He throws hard with both hands. He doesn't jab a lot. He pretty much comes to extend the left and throw hard with the right as well. I would, in every possibility, like to see Gallito instead of Martinez, but I think that his training regimen is going to be pretty much the same. Maybe possibly in sparring, if he's still doing that. At his age, I think he's probably doing less and less sparring. I would say that he's probably going to go up against some guys that are some pretty heavy sluggers and be able to deal with them. He's not fighting Sorungasai, which is a damn good thing because that's fighting a tree trunk right there. Yeah. Interesting here. Really, really interesting matchup.
For the rest of his career,
his training regimen is pretty much set at his, given his age, given his experience. I don't think they're changing a lot of things here.
Okay, I was just wondering.
I like this fight, and honestly, win or lose, I still want to see the trilogy, so it's not going to matter. It just, whether some belts are on the line or not, that may make a difference. But for me, it's not going to matter. I mean, that's going to be a great fight regardless.
I mean,
we'll see the
what if there's an upset, though? What if there's an upset?
I'm going to be happy about that, too.
Because
I already thinking that there might be. Martinez can catch him.
Upsets are good for the sport.
Too. That's the younger legs.
I mean, and all respect to Chocolatito, like Rob was saying, for taking that fight. He could have just taken a tune-up, you know, and
right.
just a stay busy type thing. But no, he came out with an actual fight. So good on Chocolatito.
Well, the thing is that he is training with Reynoso, and that is the camp. That is the trainer of the year, back to back. So you can expect a really, really good game plan from Martinez. This is about deep water here. This is this is a 12-rounder. I don't see any one of these guys being stopped here.
Knockout?
No, not at all. I don't know. No. Martinez has got a lot of punching power, but he's got to land those. Gonzalez, he's a volume puncher. Mm-hmm. Martinez ain't going nowhere. So hold on to your seat.
All right.
And let's go ahead and switch gears here. Canelo Charlo. Do we think that fight's actually going to happen? I've been hearing rumblings of such.
I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. I mean, Canelo's been surprising us. There's a lot of times where we'll be like, he's not going to fight, and then boom. Oh, shoot. Oh, he's actually going to fight him. So I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. I think Canelo has improved enough where he feels more confident, not only him, but his team, and even the fans, like myself. 2 years ago, I was going with Charlo. Right now, I think Canelo's going to show him this level to this. And Charlo is a very good fighter, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. I think if Canelo's trying to make history, where he has to face this name, and he's just doing it smart, kind of like other fighters did it, like Mayweather did, like Leonard did, kind of like wait him out, kind of like what he did to Triple G, which is kind of wait him out a little bit, wait him out, and then boom, fight him when they're not in either at their best or they're not in their best moment in their life, I guess. But Canelo might win that one.
And now that he has a working relationship also with PBC that helps the fight come along, so I think it's more makeable than it ever was before, if that makes sense.
You say Triple G, though? Did you mention Triple G?
Yeah.
That name sounds familiar. I think I've heard of that guy before.
That guy, that's another thing, too. Look, the Triple G is a perfect example. He pretty much was a good fighter. He is a good fighter, and his style was pretty much good, but his marketability really wasn't that much. You know what I'm saying? And he never break to be a pay-per-view type of fighter, and that's okay. Not everybody's a pay-per-view type of fighter. No matter like talent, doesn't mean that you're gonna have to hit those pay-per-view numbers. And just to the point earlier that we were talking about, when people say, well, if Crawford goes to the PBC, he's gonna get Mayweather treatment. Nobody gets Mayweather treatment unless you bringing in Mayweather money, and not many fighters can do that.
For one, Javi, nobody has bought in Mayweather money since Mayweather.
That's true. It's really Mayweather, Pacquiao, and then everybody else. Canelo's starting to come up. Canelo's starting to scratch that surface. But I think even if you put him on pay-per-view, there ain't no way he's even doing Pacquiao numbers, let alone Mayweather numbers. But we haven't really seen, or he hasn't really had the opportunity against a named opponent.
All right, so here's my take on Charlo Canelo, and nobody's actually touched this. I've been following this ever since, period. I've been following the possibility of this fight. And I think what's really funny right now, y'all, is that Charlo has backed down from calling out Canelo late.
Because that shit might happen.
I am hearing from some of my friends, they are saying that they are in negotiations. Of course, the number one contention right now is dollars, percentages, and it started out with 70-30. So
not good.
You can guess who the 70% would be for.
Honestly, I think that's a fair take right there.
Yeah, I think that's fair now, and here's why.
You might think it's fair, but Charlo's not going to take 30.
No, he's not. No, he's not going to take that.
Hear me out. Listen to me. Hear me out. Here's why. They tried to do a big double pay-per-view with both Charlos, right? It failed miserably. They haven't been pay-per-view since. He's desperate for this fight. He's desperate.
Okay. Well, my sources say he's not desperate and he's like no to the 30%. But guys, the main thing you have to remember is that, it's already pretty much a one-sided situation because it's not like a even 70-30. It's like, I want Mexico, I want this, I want that. And then I'll give you 30% of this pool here that's left. Oh, and we might have to do two distributions, so 2 networks. So it just gets split all up until 30% ain't what you think 30% is, like it would be in a normal pay-per-view, fight.
This doesn't have to be split, does it? He doesn't have a link to DAZN anymore. He doesn't have a contract with them. Canelo's a free agent now, right? So really, there's not going to be any split. 30%. I mean, he's still. The way Canelo brings in money, I'm still thinking. I just did some math. It's a random number, but I still think he's willing to be about $9 million at the 30%.
Right.
Yes.
Now, he's going to take that number, okay? He's going to take that number. That's a good offer, and I think he would actually take a lot less, but that's just me. Rudy says 90-10 is fair.
I don't agree with that at all.
Let me ask y'all a question.
Go ahead, Ron.
I think this is being missed with these with this generation fighters, and all of them pretty much. So if you're not that big of a draw and you're not making the numbers to make sense to even dial into pay-per-view or anything like that, then what's the best route for you to get that clout? What's the best route for you to do it? To take a fight like this. Take a risk at a shot like this. They need to start doing that. Something needs to start happening.
Yeah, because everybody's clamoring to see Caleb Plant right now, right? Since he fought Canelo. Like, it doesn't always transfer over since you having this big fight and you can create a huge fight with your name linked with the real Cal. It doesn't mean that once you don't fight him and you're on to the next opponent that people are going to clamor to go see you. Like, it don't work like that.
I'm excited to see Plant. I thought he had a good outing. I thought he looked good.
Caleb Plant.
Yeah.
Everybody is excited to see him next.
I do.
And that's not just because of the fight he took with Canelo. It's to Lucas's credit. We all seen him live for free on those Fox cards. And he helped build his name through those free Fox cards to build up to the Canelo fight. Charlo ain't doing that. Charlo's on the other side with Showtime.
What is wrong with Showtime? It ain't a damn thing what's wrong with Showtime because they got the best production, the best commentating, and they damn sure got the best locations.
And the least amount of fights. The least amount of fights.
There's that.
And their numbers are down.
Yeah, because too many other apps and different things have come along. But
I canceled it, but I got it back now.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen.
Well, my wife got it back, okay? She wanted to watch Dexter, and boxing's just a side thing for me now. I got it back out of it. You know what I mean? That's just extra. But
she's probably watching Yellow Jacket, too. That's my show. I'm in the Yellow
I want to watch that. I haven't watched it yet, though.
Yeah, that's diabolical right there. Like, don't mess with me, Emilia.
One last thing I wanted to touch on. So we went from Martinez to another Martinez, Sergio Martinez fighting again, continuing his comeback streak. Do you think he's actually building back towards something, or is he in here just making what money he can off the sport while he can?
Who? Say that again?
Sergio Martinez. Remember Sergio Martinez?
Argentinian fighting out of Spain.
Yes, very
fighting on two broke legs, two bum knees.
I mean,
apparently his knees have
gotten
gotten
fighting in Italy, so I mean, why can't he come back like everybody else? And I'm sure by now he's probably already had like a knee replacement or two. It's probably not the same knee that he was on, back when Cotto won his title. Let the man fight if he wants to fight.
He's fighting McGowan, who's 14-2.
On the zone?
Only 3 KOs. I don't even think it's going to be on TV, to be honest with you. Nope, this is in Madrid, Spain. Not a televised card. He's basically just fighting to fight at this point. But I just wondered if he's actually going to build to something, or is he just coming back to fight to earn what little money he can out of these smaller cards? Because a guy who's only got 3 knockouts in his 16 fights, I mean, that says I'm really not trying to look for nothing serious right now. This dude's,
I think Martinez has read the roadmap pretty well, and he knows that this fight is a do or die, and he said so. He actually mentioned it. If I don't make it here, I'm done. I think he's got an excellent future in training and Spanish commentating. He's a very sharp guy.
Yeah,
and
he
so
knows how to dress, baby. He's handsome.
No.
He knows what he's doing. Now, if he want to fight, I don't see a reason why he shouldn't. I mean,
no, but this is, as he stated, a do or die for himself, and I'm glad he's at that point, because I don't know that his knees and his age and all the variables that are coming into play here. It's just one of those. He's just at that crossroads here.
Yeah.
And every boxer faces that once in their life, or twice sometimes.
It's such a shame, because I don't even think his legs were, went bad from boxing, but from his cycling years. He had so many years first doing the cycling, so those legs were,
I would think that builds up your legs more than anything, but
I would have loved to see an actual fight with Cotto in him. You can't say that Martinez was ready in any kind of shape or form for that fight.
Oh, when you say Cotto, I'd love to see him fight anybody. I love Cotto. He's just a beautiful boxer. But Martinez, yes, as far as Martinez,
exhibition fight. If he don't do well in this fight, he still might get an exhibition fight. You never know.
As Martinez goes, this probably might be the current call for him. And good for him. Good for him. He's got a good future.
Yeah. Hopefully, best of luck.
He's got a promising future.
I kind of want him to just go into commentating now. I don't want him to get hurt. Don't want him to get embarrassed. I would like him to just, continue other careers, other ways of making money. I know it's hard to let the sport go. Sorry, Rob, didn't mean to cut you off, buddy.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. So,
See,
that's what I'm thinking.
All right. I think that's going to conclude the show for the night. Anybody else have anything to say? Anything else they wanted to add?
So
I think Clarissa, who's fighting this weekend?
That's what I'd say that.
No, you sounded like a damn horse.
I don't think Clarissa's fighting this weekend.
No, it's next weekend.
Next weekend? Okay.
Next weekend's got the pay-per-view, too, with Thurman. So next weekend will be a little bit of a bigger show. We got a little bit more to talk about. Rob, go ahead.
Another pay-per-view. Fuck.
Was congratulations, Joe Smith Jr. He retained his title in a TKO victory.
Yep.
And don't forget that Canelo is also eyeing a possible bout with him next.
Right.
So that's an opponent that they also tossed around, especially with that successful TKO victory. He continues on his career and his path. Let's see if he's ready for Canelo. I think he's thinking not yet, but he might take that fight.
Joe Smith, I mean, I love watching him, and he's an exciting fighter, very powerful. I mean, if you want the payday, take the Canelo fight, but otherwise, I don't know.
Because he says it
barring
himself.
A heavy punch.
Even after this last fight, I want to get back in the gym and work on my craft. I want to get back in and work on it. So he knows there's holes there, and you cannot have holes against Canelo.
No, and with Joe Smith, he knows. There's some glaring holes that he has filled always with power. So he's got to tighten up on a lot of those things, and it may just be that that's not Joe Smith's style. That's not who Joe Smith is. So he may just end up having to take the fight and say, "Hey, I'm gonna throw my best at him and see what I can do."
I'm rooting for him. I hope he gets that payday. Because to me, he deserves it. He worked a long time through his career, before he was able to totally stop working and just, concentrate on training. So, I hope he gets exactly what he wants. I know he said he would like to unify first, but if Canelo can sneak in there before those fights, he's down for it. So I like how he kind of tried to pigeonhole Canelo into that one little slot of time. But I do hope that he's able to get that Canelo fight, if not now, eventually.
That was one thing I wanted to talk about. The next is just to be bringing stuff up. But Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson.
Oh, yes.
Fight. Big fight.
I'm there for it.
Is that done? Is that a done deal?
They have agreed to a unification title fight April 30th in Las Vegas, sources tell ESPN on Wednesday.
All right.
ESPN, so Rob is on it. He's like, yes. But that's a fight. That's a good fight too.
Yeah,
I'm like, damn. I'm there for that because
that a good fight. I think that's a warm up for Valdez.
You said that's a pay-per-view?
No.
Yeah, I think it would be if it's Shakur.
None of that has been signed on yet. They've agreed to the date and all of that, but they haven't agreed to the specifics like purse, all that type of stuff.
Every other fucking fight is pay-per-view. I don't see why this would.
I'm not underrating
Jesus
Shakur
Christ.
anymore, man. I picked Herring over him, he put it to Herring. I'm on Shakur's side now. You back me in the corner, Shakur. You got me. I'm yours.
I got $100 I'm trying to get rid of.
No, he was going, okay, Valdez, I hear you. No, it's Shakur. It's Shakur.
I can't go against Shakur no more.
I'm not either. No.
But if anything, Terrence Crawford was right about Bob Arum's bias, and then look for Valdez to get the money share of the promotion.
I was gonna say, I was like, it might be the perfect thing to happen for Shakur because now you're gonna be so careful with the boxers you do have left right now. You're gonna make damn sure they get fair treatment.
Oh yeah.
So I'm ready to see them Shakur versus Valdez commercials on ESPN. Right
and
away.
Only on ESPN.
No, across everywhere. Okay, but yeah, you're right. It's only on Loma only got ESPN. You're right.
Yeah, they don't do that. I don't understand why not, but they're not. Oh, nope. We're just gonna. You already have the ESPN market. Move to a different market. But what do I know? I'm not a promoter.
Valdez got a really, really solid fight here. A lot bigger and better opponent than he had with Miguel Burchell. Totally different, far more talented, sharper in every sense of the word. But still, it's going to be a great fight. And hats off to Valdez for taking this.
Absolutely.
He takes hard fights. Valdez does not back down, man. You look at his resume. That's a resume.
Yeah.
And he's taking his lumps too. He's taking his lumps.
If he wins this fight, I'm using Javi's word. He's a god.
And he pulls this one off, man.
Yeah, he pulls this one off.
He ain't pulling it off. He's going to win. It's not a pull-off. It's not an upset.
It's a magic trick.
Got $100 here.
It's gonna be.
I don't have $100. Never had $100. Ever.
Rob, was that it?
We got thousands of bucks. Rob left.
I think he had to go. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Again, we're going to be starting back every Tuesday now. I know we got off to a rocky start here in 2022. Thank you all for tuning in. Rudy says he better stock up on the Canelo meat. LOL.
Oh my God!
You know where he's going to.
He
already did. Yeah, he's got that. He's going to be tested, I'm sure. Right, guys? We think? We'll see. But
that's
definitely
a whole nother level. Is there body testing?
Yeah, it better be. I'm sure they'll be signed up with Shakur on there. He's loose to Olympic testing. So, all right. Check us out every Tuesday from now on at all your social media at Heavy Bag Boxing. Check us out on the website, www.heavybagboxing. As always, we don't pull any punches, and we'll see you again next week.